accounting profession that's approaching a point of no return. Speed, structure, expectations shift so far that there's no meaningful way back. Chris Johnson went further in audit. He said, a beyond compliant, 100% tested audit in under 5 hours. That's a game changer. As clients, they're going to stop paying for reports and start paying for perspective. And to understand where the profession is headed, think of accounting in 2026 as supersonic jets, breaking the sound barrier. 2025 was the year of vibration and noise. 2026 is the year one of two things happen. Welcome back to Accounting Voices if you're a regular watcher or listener. If you are new to the show, this is a weekly podcast drops on a Tuesday. I'm Rob Brown, your host, based here in the UK. The audience is largely North America for this show, and we talk to accounting leaders and firm leaders, people in the accounting game, about what's happening in the world and how to stay relevant in a rapidly disrupted world. So we are in a series here. I asked 48 key leaders in the accounting world and tech world the same 5 questions at the end of last year, called it Accounting Reflections 2025. The 5 questions were these. Question 1, what defined the year? Let's see what's coming up by looking at what happened. Question 2 was, what challenged, frustrated, or disappointed you? Question 3 was, what have you changed your mind on in the last year? Question 4 was, what skills do leaders need to upgrade on to stay relevant in 2026? This is the final question in the series, and it's one everyone really cares about, because it's crystal ball time. What's the one prediction these leaders and influencers felt very confident was going to play out in 2026? So I'm giving you a selection here of the answers and the themes that came out. And then in the final episode next week, I will wrap everything up with all 5 questions and the key things that came out and share with you what series might be coming up next as I go to another 20, 30, 50 people and get some more accounting answers. So what came back was not hype on all of these. It wasn't speculation. Well, it was to a degree. Nobody knows exactly what's happening in the future, but there was a lot of certainty around people's predictions. And that's what I was asking for. I asked them for things that they were pretty sure was going to happen. And the answers described it an accounting profession that's approaching a point of no return. Speed, structure, expectations shift so far that there's no meaningful way back. It's not a reboot or a reset to go back to where we were. It's a whole new recalibration. So the first prediction that came out, the theme that came out, was about time. Jeff Seibert of Digits was unequivocal. He said by the end of 2026, the entire month-end close process will be largely automated, allowing it to be completed in sub 1 hour for almost every client. That's massive, isn't it? That's not just incremental efficiency. That's a structural reset. Chris Johnson went further in audit. He said, a beyond compliant, 100% tested audit in under 5 hours. That's a game changer. The implication here is pretty stark. When outcomes move at that speed, the pricing, the staffing, the review, the client expectations are all going to have to change with them, aren't they? The second prediction after time was about revenue. So for years, advisory has been framed as the future and the death of compliance. Compliance is still there, obviously. But Dr. Jackie Meyer, one of my favorite people in accounting, believes that 2026 is the year this becomes the present. So she predicts that advisory revenue will surpass compliance revenue for about 25% of firms. Now, that's already happening in some firms. Chelsea Summers and I on the Inside Public Accounting podcast have talked about that and had the research to prove that as the conversation in the heart of many modern firms. Stephen Hoffman agreed. He said that advisory and strategy as an offering is going to overtake compliance at the heart of the modern firm. As clients, they're going to stop paying for reports and start paying for perspective. So this isn't about adding advisory services. Accountants have been advisors since double entry bookkeeping was invented, but it's more about a revenue inversion and how the way that revenue comes into the firm is going to be largely driven. The third prediction came with how firms think about technology itself. Alice Gray Harrison, I've quoted her a couple of times, made one of the most provocative predictions I've heard for a while. She expects firms to begin budgeting for AI in the same way they budget for headcount. So not software, not tools. So you start budgeting for AI labor, AI talent. That's going to be like your headcount. David Costello of Canopy reinforced this shift. He predicted that 2026 is the year that AI becomes the first staff accountant. So a true entry-level worker that executes the simple services and hands off work to human reviewers. Ellen Choi formerly of Awin, now running her own consultancy, she expects this to accelerate quickly. She predicted that at least 50% of public accounting firms will be using sanctioned AI assistance at a systematic scale. So at that point, AI is no longer a project, it's part of the org chart. Now, not all predictions were optimistic. You're still thinking about the AI thing, aren't you? Becky Livingston, Rafael Casas both warned that the AI bubble is going to pop in late 2026. Do you think that? Who knows? We'll see. But they saw it as a healthy correction and one that strips away the non-valuable startups and the smoke and the mirrors and the marketing messages and the promising and the advisory in a box claims that have never really delivered. And what remains in their view is going to be the tools that actually solve accounting problems rather than simply sounding impressive. The fifth prediction focused on talent, but not in the way that most firms discuss it. The vibrant Nancy McClelland predicted that in 2026, firms are actually going to take sustainability seriously. They'll have to, not just environmentally, but in people and capacity terms. So she believed that successful firms are going to stop waiting for perfect CPA candidates and instead build teams from diverse credentials and backgrounds, using AI to handle the grunt work that once required large numbers of entry-level staff. And that is sustainable. Denise Leduc-Fremming from California Institute of CPAs, wonderful lady, great ambassador for the profession. I hope I'm saying that name right, Denise. Added that the human role will become more clearly defined as a human in the loop. She said this better than anybody. And you can see all of these interviews on our Accounting Voices LinkedIn page. All 48 of them are there. They're 10, 12 minutes long. You can play them at 1.5 speed and get all of these insights from people. They really are first class. So Denise was focusing on the review, the judgment, and the high-level competency rather than volume prediction. The sixth prediction that came out returned to consolidation, the private equity, the M&A. Sagar Ahuja from QX, the gold standard for me when it comes to outsourcing and offshoring for accounting firms. He expects consolidation to become even more aggressive as smaller firms realize they can't compete with the well-oiled private equity machines that have the structure and the capital to out-invest them. That's a lovely way of putting it. Bob Lewis, who's very big in the M&A game, echoed this as well. He noted that it's soon going to be difficult to find a large traditional firm that hasn't already accepted outside capital. For many people I interviewed, this is no longer a question of if, but when. So private equity is a juggernaut that it's hard to stop. There's so much consolidation going on. One final prediction that cut through everything else. Azuna Anyanwu offered a really grounded warning for all of us. He said, for many firms, busy season is still going to suck. That's frightening because that's been a problem for us for a long time, hasn't it? Too many firms spent 2025 chasing shiny objects without making the fundamental process investments required. And in 2026, when the workload hits at speed as it will, they're still going to feel it. And to understand where the profession is headed, think of accounting in 2026 as supersonic jets breaking the sound barrier. So 2025 was the year of vibration and noise. So AI height, private equity momentum, structural strain. 2026 is the year one of two things happens. Either the profession breaks through the sound barrier into a smooth, high-velocity flight where AI is simply the new Excel and advisory is the new engine. So that'll happen. Or firms discover that their firm is rattling and rolling with an old airframe that was never built for these high speeds. Those planes are just going to fall out of the sky, aren't they? So the leaders who succeed are not going to be the ones fighting the controls. They're going to be the ones who trust the new navigation systems. They redesign for speed and scale. They accept that there's no meaningful way back. It's forward full speed. And hopefully the vehicle you're traveling in can withstand the buffeting and the disruption and the high speeds we're going at. And this is what leaders are quietly preparing for, the good leaders in 2026. So that's where this season ends, apart from my wrap up next week. We've been hitting you with predictions for next year. You'll have your own. Message me on LinkedIn. I'd love to know what yours are, but what are you definitely sure is going to happen this year? We can say vague things like AI is going to become more prominent or there's going to be more private equity, but how bold are you willing to be in saying, actually, this is precisely what will happen? What we do know is change is already here. I've said before on this show, if you think change is hard, then try not changing. There's a few videos out there that talk about choose your hard. And by that, they mean, for example, that it's hard to stay slim, but it's also hard when you're overweight. It's hard to be unfit because life's difficult. It's also hard to be fit because you've got to put in the training. It's hard to be rich. You've got to work really hard, but it's also hard when you're poor. So you get the idea. Choose your hard. One way or another, you're going to pay for it. The message, as always, with me, Rob Brown, on Accounting Voices is that you've got to be armed and dangerous. You've got to stay relevant. You've got to build your personal brand and your network. You've got to stay ahead of the news and the trends. And we give you as much of that interpretation as possible with my voice and other accounting voices here on the show. We're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, and we are on all of the podcast channels. Thank you for being a really great audience. We'll see you on the next episode where I'm going to wrap up this Accounting Reflections series with the key things I'm taking away from it and the things that you need to be doing to stay in the game and stay relevant and stay informed in 2026. Have a great day.